Hey everybody and welcome to Early Access Podcast episode 98. I'm your host Angelo and thank you for checking us out again. I'm recording this one at like almost noon on Monday because I had off from work today. So, oh shit, why is this playing again? So I hope everybody had a happy Valentine's Day weekend. Hopefully you got a chance to, spend some time with your loved ones or went out and saw Deadpool. So if you haven't seen Deadpool yet, I'm not going to spoil anything here, but Deadpool is breaking all kinds of records. It's a 25-year-old character that no one knows about unless you are into comic books. I was incredibly happy when this came around and they finally decided to let Ryan Reynolds take the reins of Wade Wilson. He embodies that character so well. His sense of humor is amazing. He's really, really good at playing this character. But it's breaking records for an R-rated comedy and a superhero movie, which is pretty amazing. So over the weekend, it made north of $150 million over the 4-day weekend, which is the highest opening of all time for an R-rated movie. It also had the biggest box office earnings for day one, which is it's just incredible, especially for a character that really no one really understood. In the mainstream, like with how popular all the superhero movies have been becoming, to see a character like Deadpool to be plucked from the comic books and put on the screen in such a way that really embodied that character, it was incredible. As a big fan of Deadpool, I'm just really happy with how it turned out, and I'm excited to see what they do for the second one. So yeah, I think opening day, it made a lot. Can't find how much it made day one. I want to say it was like $20 million, $50 million. I don't know. It was a lot. But yeah, it's breaking all kinds of records, which is just unheard of. It just reminds me of Guardians of the Galaxy, another franchise and group of heroes that, most people had never heard of until they made the movie and then just, boom, exploded. And I think it just goes to show that there is a place for R-rated superhero films out there. Granted, every movie isn't going to be as big as Deadpool, but I think the unique mix of humor and violence really fits this character in particular. There is other characters that could have films like this in the mythos, if you will. Like it just makes it seem like they could do something darker for a lot of the other superhero movies, because there is some R-rated stuff in the comic book graphic novel world that just wouldn't translate well into a PG-13 film. Deadpool is a prime example of that. Like if they tried to make this a PG-13 movie, it would have taken away everything that makes this character so unique in the universe. Like in the Marvel universe, it would have just been weird. It just wouldn't have worked at all. And they just did an amazing job. It was fun to watch. It was funny. It had a good storyline. And like I said, Ryan Reynolds is like the perfect guy to play this character. Ever since they shit on the Wade Wilson character in the Wolverine movie and upset everybody. It was great that this this CGI proof of concept trailer took the internet by storm and really pushed the popularity of Deadpool over the last couple years and made people really want this film. And it was the fans' reaction to that little CGI clip that really propelled this movie into where it is today. So I highly recommend going to check it out. Try to see it in the movie theater. Don't wait for it to come out on Blu-ray or DVD. It's a big action film. You want to see it in that setting. You want to be in that room with all the people. You want to laugh with other people. I feel like these kinds of movies, you lose a little something when you're watching it by yourself at home. I'm sure there's going to be plenty of extras to watch when this comes out on Blu-ray. And it may actually be one of the first movies I pick up in a long time on DVD, just because I want to see some of the making of stuff. I'm interested in what the story is beyond like, them not wanting to give them a story. And I will give you a little heads up, if you haven't already spoiled it for yourself, if you sit through the credits, there is an end credit scene which just teases the sequel. And from what I understand, from what I've read already, they're already working on making a sequel. They're already writing the script. I think they're looking to bring Cable into it, which is another mercenary mutant, if you will, who is Deadpool's like arch nemesis. So, highly recommend checking out Deadpool. It's totally worth the time, and they did him good. They done the Merc with a mouth good, and I'm very impressed with everything that movie had to offer. It was a fun time. But other than that, what did I do this weekend? Went out to a nice dinner with my girlfriend for Valentine's Day. Just hung out at home, went to the movies, tried to stay in. It was like unseasonably cold in New Jersey. I mean, it's been unseasonably warm here. I don't know if you're from the East Coast. It's been unseasonably warm. Like, we had 60-degree weather a week ago, then we had 20 inches of snow the week before that, and then it was even worse. It's just been up and down, and then over the weekend it was like in the single digits, in the teens, which here is freezing. So if you're not used to that kind of weather, it's definitely shocking, and it's not much better today. It's still fucking cold. But yeah, I just sat around. I played some Rainbow Six Siege. I did play a bunch of The Long Dark over the weekend as well. Not on PC. I know I just pulled it up on Steam. If you're watching the video to show the video of it, but I picked it up on the Xbox in the preview program, which is their early access program. So it was $20. If you haven't been following this game, it's been out for in early access for a while now, going on 2 years in September. So right around a year and a half, this game's been in early access. It's also $20 on Steam if you're interested in picking it up on the PC. But I wanted to play it on the console just to see how their early access program is working and what that's all about. So The Long Dark is a first-person exploration survival game. And you are somewhere up in the northern Canada, in the wilderness, freezing conditions. And what they're saying is a geomagnetic disaster caused your plane to crash. So you are in the wilderness, and you are scavenging to stay alive as long as possible. There is a story mode, or there's gonna be a story mode. It's just not in the game yet. It's a really fun experience for a first-person survival game. The only thing you're dealing with is the elements and, the occasional wolf or something like that. But it's really all about trying to stay warm and trying to just survive the harsh conditions of, the wilderness in Canada. There is there's a crafting system. You're exploring the different areas. You're picking up items. You're trying to get better clothing. You're preparing your clothing. There's a number of systems at work, like any other survival game. The things I like that The Long Dark does is it makes you feel like every time you step outside, you're in danger. You're not going to be exploring a lot at first over time. So it's a slow burn in the beginning. There's a learning curve. There's a sharp learning curve here where you're just dropped off, and it's procedurally generated where you spawn at. I'm sure if I looked it up, there is, you will spawn in X of areas. There's several different areas. All of them have more or fewer resources depending on your experience with the game so far. So I just started in the beginning, in the very early stages of the game. And basically what you do is, you weren't ready to be dropped into this frigid wasteland. So you don't have the proper clothing, you don't have any of the supplies that you need, you basically have nothing. So when you start off, you're basically looking to get warm, because the first thing you'll notice is that you need to monitor how your temperature, your body temperature, how warm you are, your food, your water, and how tired you are. So basically, you are scavenging. You're going to grab wood. You're going to try to keep yourself as warm as possible. Find a shelter, and then over time, you get a little bit more brazen, and you're going to try to venture further and further away from where you start at, trying to find food and warmth. The biggest thing is, like, what's going to kill you the most is going to be your ability to stay warm at night, which also seems to be one of the hardest things that I had. Like, the biggest trouble I had in the game was trying to survive that first night. Seems to be crucial. So your ability to monitor like your body temperature in the game is based around whether or not you can start a fire, whether or not you can sleep indoors. And as expected, it gets incredibly cold overnight, like so much so that you're afraid to go outside for more than, a couple in-game hours at a time. So basically, you're going to gather some wood, you're going to try to survive the first night, and then once you wake up in the morning, try to get all your vitals back up. You try to eat, try to drink water, and then go back out. Some of the numbers need to be tweaked with, like, how long it takes to boil water. Like, breaking up branches takes like 10 minutes of in-game time, which just seems like a long time to break up a branch. Some of the stuff like that makes it really difficult to get going in the game. However, as you do get better at managing all of your vital signs, you do get better at playing the game. They do like I said, they do a really good job of making you feel like you are surviving. The weather effects are great. The changing of the temperature. I mean, it's always cold, but, like, there'll be a blizzard that blows through, and your inability to see very far changes. Like, there was a time where I couldn't go very far just because there was a blizzard outside and I couldn't see anything, and I got lost and I died that way because the blizzard came in while I was away from where I was trying to stay at in this cabin. And then on top of it, you also have to be able to be like, all right, well, I can't get anywhere, so I got to build a fire. But the game also factors in the wind that's blowing. So sometimes you might not be able to plant a fire. You got to find, like, maybe get in between two trees. You got to get behind a rock. You got to, like, there's all kinds of stuff that you have to do to be able to try to survive. It's a very interesting and challenging game for a single player experience in this type of mode. Like, this type of game. Like, a lot of these games tend to be like, well, can you kill all the zombies, or can you get the best gun in the game and just live forever? I found that's not the case with this. Like, I found 2 guns in the couple hours I played in different playthroughs, and only like 3 bullets both times. So it's not like you're going to be finding a gun with a whole bunch of ammo and being able to just kill everything you want, because that's not really how you survive. Like, you need to find food, and you need to constantly be getting wood to burn. Like, it's very hard. And actually, it looks better on Steam. I'm watching some of the videos as it runs through here on Steam, and it seems to actually have better menu management on here than it does on the Xbox. But like I said, it's an incredible experience, and it's definitely worth checking out. Even in the state it's in now, it's completely playable, as it's been in early access for 18 months here. But it's definitely worth checking it out. If you're into first person, like if you're into survival games like this, like exploration survival games, like, this isn't going to be for everybody, as these games tend not to be. But I would definitely recommend checking it out if you're looking for a single player experience. It's not going to give you that PvP rush of like a Rust or an H1Z1 or a DayZ, but it is going to give you a different kind of experience where you actually feel like you're surviving. You're not building bases, and you're not trying to protect yourself from other players. It's an incredible experience. I highly recommend checking it out. The link for that is going to be in the show notes, and it's also going to be in the description on YouTube. I just got done playing this game, and I actually put a first look up of it. So if you want to take a look at this game, it's called Legends of Kaliesha, I think that's how you pronounce it. And I just did a first look. It's over on the YouTube channel. I went through the tutorial, So it's got 14 reviews, 85% positive. It's free to play, and I say that loosely because it's not really free to play, and it's one of the biggest things that really I have a problem with this game. So this is a turn-based single-player, multiplayer board game. It's kind of like Risk. So you're moving a hero character and units across a map of territories that are broken up. You're claiming these territories. You earn gold every round. There's also like this card element where you're drawing cards that give different things, like boost attacks and stuff like that. The gameplay on its like on the face is actually pretty interesting. You know, you're building towers, recruiting different troops, taking them with your hero. You're recruiting new heroes, stuff like that. I really like it. There is some stuff about it that I just didn't find that that appealing. It's kind of slow. I understand it's a turn-based strategy game, but for instance, when you move into a territory, you don't automatically claim it. You actually have to take a turn to claim it. When you defeat an enemy in a territory, you also don't claim it. You have to defeat that enemy and then claim it. When you want to build something, it takes a turn. So there's not enough actions in a turn, and it makes it feel really slow. It gets a little bit better as the game progresses because you do get to recruit multiple heroes, which you can split up, and the heroes can have their own actions each turn. But when you have one hero and you're trying to move along, it's a slow burn, which does lead to a big epic, not epic, but a bigger finale for matches when they're even. So the tutorial doesn't do a great job explaining things either. Currently, there's no mouse over for any of the icons on the board. So you're relying on like just context clues, trying to figure out exactly what everything does, and the tutorial. The tutorial does an okay job of explaining exactly how the game works, but at the same time, it doesn't point out things that you really need to know in a way that's intuitive. I really love the ability to mouse over any of the buttons on the screen because there's a lot of HUD elements, and be able to mouse over anything and be like, this is what this does, or this is what this does, but it doesn't have that. So you're relying on the mediocre tutorial to try to learn all that stuff. It doesn't explain the fighting at all, like trying to figure out like how attacking and all that works. But I'm sure with time that would all come, it would come together as you learn the game. Just repetition, you'll play it and figure it out as time goes on. This is personally, I like to know everything, or as much as I can about a game, especially like a strategy game like this. I'd like to know as much as possible before going into it, and I feel like the tutorial's a little lacking there. But early access, that stuff kind of can and probably will be added over time, considering it's only a few days old here. Like I said in the beginning, though, the biggest gripe I have with this game is that it's listed on Steam as free-to-play. So you can go and download it. The only problem is it's not actually free-to-play. You can play the tutorial, and you can play a couple campaign missions, but that's all you get out of the free-to-play stuff. Everything else is gated behind an in-game purchase of the full early access access. So you have to pay $20 to unlock the whole game, which I have no problem with. I don't mind there being a $20 price tag on a game, but give it to everybody as an option in Steam. Don't hide it in your game like that. I think it's misleading, and for an early access title, don't hide stuff behind a paywall just to get people to download your game. I understand what you're doing there. If you want to list it as like, a demo version, if you want to list and like put it there, like, yeah, you can download it for free. Like, I'm sure it's listed somewhere in the description, but it's not a free-to-play game. It's a free-to-try game. It's got a tutorial you can try and a couple campaign missions you can try, but that's not a free-to-play game. So I would just like to see it say $20 on there, and then list the tutorial as like a demo or something. I don't like downloading a game and realizing like, oh, it's not actually free to play. So it's just a weird strategy. I get it. Like, it gets people to play your game and download it, but be a little bit more transparent. Yeah, see, it is listed here how the full version is listed. So currently it's available for $16 in the demo. I just don't like the route that they're taking to do that. It's a really interesting game though, and I can see it having a great potential for scratching that itch of a Risk Plus. There's a lot going on, more mechanics, because it is a video game. It allows you to do more than you could do with a board game. So I would recommend checking it out because it is free to try it. So go check out Legends of Kaliesha. It is a fun game to try out. It's not the best, but it is doing some really cool things, and I feel like if you're going to get behind an early access game, they're doing some really interesting stuff for a interactive board game. So you can go check that out. And the last game I pulled, I didn't play. I just thought it seemed interesting. It's called Wayward, Terran Frontier, Zero Falls. Note to the developer, games don't need that many titles. Zero Falls or Wayward Terran or Terran Frontier, anything would be better than a subtitled game. It's just not fun. It's a mouthful. When you're telling your friends, you're not going to be like, are you playing Wayward Terran Frontier Zero Falls? No, you're not going to do that. So it's got 80% out of the 15 reviews. It's $27 until the 18th. So you got a few more days here. So it's usually $30. And this is in another, in a slew of them recently, a indie space sim. They all look pretty much the same. They got decent graphics because of all the free engines now. Everything looks pretty good. It's a top-down, 2D space sim. It looks interesting though. It's an RPG style game. Oh wait, does this have can you go inside? So it looks like it's also got a top-down little side scroll, not side scrolly, but a little top-down RPG moving thing in there. So yeah, it says it's a story-driven sandbox RPG. It says you can work to destroy the sensor network and reach the heavily guarded planet before Shavala Corporation goons hunt you down, or just go exploring. It looks like they're doing a lot. It looks like there's a lot to do for an indie game. It looks like you can completely customize your ship. And it does look like you can actually enter some buildings, and it does give you this top-down 2D map that you can navigate, and you have guns and stuff. So there is another, looks like maybe a turn-based RPG dungeon crawling aspect to it, or maybe it's trying to parse things together based on the video and everything, but it doesn't really explain it very well, that aspect of the game, if that's even in there right now. Let me see if it's in the video. There's just a very small clip of it. Maybe that's the ship being destroyed from the inside. I don't know. It does look really interesting. It is a bit on the expensive side, though. Let me see. Plays like a top-down shooter with WASD. No shit. It's an RPG with no RPG elements. Spend your time dodging a billion asteroids to find a base that is identical to the last one you found in a vain search to find a blueprint. I mean, that's typical. Well, Dad, this is wordy. Don't write these kind of reviews on Steam. No one reads them like that. So, yeah, it's procedurally generated, I'm sure. So you're going to get a lot of similarity between things, especially this early on in the early access process. And they're going to be adding stuff as it goes along. It looks competent enough based on the positive reviews. So if you like 2D top-down space sims, this is another one you can, put your money behind if you are so inclined. There's a bunch of them out there, though, so I would definitely recommend just doing your research. There's a lot of space simulators out there, especially this style, the 2D top-down style. I don't know what's with the the popularity lately. Let me see. Simulator. Space Simulator. No, I don't want to find a specific game named Space Simulator. yeah, there's just a lot of space sim games lately. Um, like Scrap Mechanic, that's not a space sim. But let's see. Nah, this isn't going to give it to me in the order I want to look at it, so I'm not going to do it. But there has been a lot. Trust me, there is plenty of 2D space sim games out there. It seems like everybody was like, I want to make a space sim, so everybody did. So if you're into that, this is a perfect time for you and Steam and the Early Access program, because they're fucking everywhere. But yeah, that's going to do it for this episode, guys. Thanks for checking out the show. If you like it, don't forget, leave a 5-star rating over on iTunes. It helps bump the show up. Get me some more listeners. Tell your friends if you're into it. Talk to other people about it. If you want to help out the show, I did bring up the site for the time being, so I can transfer everything over. So if you still like to go that route, go to earlyaccessmedia.com, click through the Amazon banner at the bottom of the page, and use it whenever you buy anything off of Amazon. It really does help out the show. You can follow us on Twitter, Early Access PC on Twitter. I occasionally give away some games. I do have some codes for a game that I haven't checked out yet, and I can't think of it off the top of my head. It was in the show notes for the last episode, so if you go check that out, I'm going to be giving those away soon. For that is a game that's in its alpha. But other than that, guys, thank you very much for watching or listening to the show. Any questions, comments, recommendations, you want to set up an interview, you want to toss me a review copy of your game, earlyaccesspodcast@gmail.com is the new email address. It's a lot easier to navigate than the website one. So send any information over to there. And until next time, guys, this is Angelo with Early Access Podcast, and be awesome.